In a span of just a few short hours last night, the Browns were loosely connected to two quarterbacks as their potential starter for 2025. So I want to open up by talking about Dak Prescott potentially coming to the Browns because last night during the playoff game between the Rams and the Vikings, we had a report come out that Jerry Jones is interested in Deion Sanders for the Cowboys head coaching job. Dallas is letting Mike McCarthy walk with his contract up, and they are looking to go a different direction. And Deion has always been entertaining when it comes to his name being tossed into coaching hotboards and cycles, but I think there is a real chance that if he was to make the jump to the NFL, it would be with the Dallas Cowboys, right? The team he played with for so long. So I can see the connection here, but it's also worth noting that his entire coaching history has been really centered around one thing, coaching his sons. But we always forget that he's got more than one. So if he were to make a jump to the NFL, I think it would be under the condition of, if you hire me, I want you to know my plan is to trade up and get my son Shedeur Sanders. So trade up would involve the Browns sitting at number 2, in my opinion, because it seems like the Titans are kind of dialed in on Cam Ward. Still early in the process, but that's kind of my gut feeling right now. I'm just going to come out and say this. The Cowboys are not trading Dak Prescott. At least they're not trading Dak Prescott in a very simplistic way of hire Deion on Monday, trade Dak on Tuesday. The financial side of things, it's just too difficult to trade Dak after one season, not even really one season, of his contract extension. 2025 would be the first year of that new contract that he signed. Remember, the morning of week 1 before they played the Browns. If you're wondering what the financial side looks like, if they were to trade him before June 1st, specifically before the draft, they would take on a $104 million dead cap hit. For reference, when the Broncos dumped Russell Wilson last year, he set the new dead cap hit at $85 million. That was about $45 million larger than the previous number 1 dead cap hit. We're talking about adding on an extra $20 million of Jerry Jones's money. And Jerry Jones, despite being a billionaire, really doesn't like spending money on players. He is notorious for never spending in free agency, for dragging these contracts out. I've got a tough time believing that he's going to sign off on trading Dak not even one season into his new extension that he got. Now, if he were to be hypnotized and blown away by Deion and he's like, all right, you sold me, I'm in, let's hire Deion and let's trade up for Shedeur, it would have to be a post-June 1 trade. And what that would allow the Cowboys to do is take this $104 million dead cap hit and split it over 2025 and 2026. That's the only way. But in that scenario, no team is going to get Dak Prescott before the draft. And if the Cowboys were to jump up from 12-2 with the Browns might want Dak Prescott, which they would not be able to get in a in a post-June 1 trade. Now, it is possible that they could draft Shedeur, keep Dak, and let Shedeur sit for a season behind Dak, but that's going to be one awkward season. But it's happened before. Kirk Cousins, Michael Penix, Jordan Love, Aaron Rodgers, so it's not uncharted waters. Maybe they trade up, don't involve Dak in the trade, and then after June 1, find a trade partner. But by a show of hands, can anyone remember the last time an NFL team found their starting quarterback on June 2nd? No, that's all done. Every team has their starting quarterback penciled in by the time the draft is over. Maybe there's a battle, but you're not bringing Dak Prescott in for a quarterback battle. You're bringing him in to be your starting quarterback. So I don't think Dak's going to get traded, but it is the NFL, and we have seen pretty crazy things happen before. In terms of a trade with the Browns, just to give you a reference point of what that could look like, it wouldn't be very far off, in my estimation, to the 49ers trading up for Trey Lance. They went from 12-3. So we're talking about going from 12-2, and this involved a first-round pick swap, 2 additional future firsts, and a third-round draft pick. So let's call it a third and 2 future firsts since they pick swapped. I'm going to go with the same trade, going from 12 to 2. First round pick swap from 12 to 2, and then 2 additional future first round draft picks and the Dallas Cowboys third round draft pick this year. I think that's probably in the ballpark of what the Browns could get in a trade. And in this scenario, I'm all in. I understand that falling back from 12 to 2, you take a decent blow at finding a good prospect in this year's draft class. But if there were a year to fall back from 12 to 2, this would be the year. Like, I don't think this draft class is going to be something we look back at and go, wow, what a stacked and loaded draft class, like the 2018 draft was, where there were so many great picks in the top 10. So if there is a year where, hey, this is not the greatest in terms of pure prospect class, it's this year. And you could stockpile future draft picks to help you move up in the draft in future years if you want to go up and get a quarterback. Or you have 2 first-round draft picks, so either the Browns suck or the Cowboys suck, and if it's the Cowboys, you could kind of luck your way into the first overall pick or something near it, like the Bears did when they got Caleb Williams, thanks to the Carolina Panthers sucking, since that was Carolina's draft pick. But Dak as a whole, are you in or are you out on him? I think Dak Prescott is a good starting quarterback. I think if you are a team like the Browns, that might not be the worst thing in the world at the moment, because with the new stadium on the horizon, they need butts and seats. Like, they need to sell PSLs, and they need people that are willing to spend on season tickets to help pay them back for the $1 billion+ they are spending on a new stadium. If you can get Dak and it doesn't require getting less draft capital from Dallas, which it definitely would, then I'm probably on board with bringing Dak over. But if Dak's going to be like a focal point of the trade where, hey, it's Dak or a bunch of draft picks, I'm going to take the draft picks. So let's switch gears and talk about the next quarterback that's got some traction over to Cleveland, and that is Sam Darnold, because it's funny how he plays 2 bad games and all of a sudden everyone wants to sign him now because it doesn't look like the Vikings will sign him, right? He's not good enough to play at Minnesota, but he's good enough to play for the Browns, which I know I'm kind of poking fun at, but that's somewhat of the position the Browns and other teams in search of a quarterback are in right now. It is not a good offseason to be looking for a quarterback. Usually you start at the draft. It's not a great draft if you need a quarterback. You rarely find your franchise quarterback in free agency. Happens once in a blue moon, and maybe that could be the Browns with Darnold, but I've got my reservations about it. Now, Kevin O'Connell, after the loss against the Rams on Monday night against in the playoff game, here's what he had to say. I just want to say it's very important we all think about Sam's body of work, what he was able to do this year when not many people thought he would be able to lead a team to 14 wins. It did not work out in the end, and I think Sam would be the first one to tell you, could he have played better tonight? I'm sure he would tell you he could have. Does that kind of sound like a coach that wants his quarterback back? Because I somewhat think so. He opens up with saying it's about the body of work. He didn't have to include that. I don't expect him to go out in front of the media and say, yeah, Sam blew chunks out there today and against the Lions on Sunday night. But he didn't have to say, let's remember about all the good times with Sam Darnold. And my guess is KOC, Kevin O'Connell, is going to have a huge voice in the Vikings quarterback for 2025 because he has proven to be a very good head coach and can work with a lot of different quarterbacks. So if he wants Darnold back because he wants to look at the whole body of work and not let 2 games outweigh 14 great games, my guess is he'll probably get his way. Now, before we get to more on this subject here, I do have to give a quick shout out to our friends over at Mando. Today's show is sponsored by Mando. It's a whole body deodorant safe to use anywhere on your body. Now, I walk to work most days, and it's about a 30-minute walk, which can cause me to work up a little bit of a sweat. But when I use Mando, I come into the office pit stain free and not smelling like a used gym towel. It was created by a doctor who saw firsthand how normal BO was being misdiagnosed and mistreated. It is clinically proven to block odor all day and control odor for up to 72 hours. Mando is offering new customers $5 off their starter pack at shopmando.com with promo code CHAT. Their starter pack is perfect for new customers. It comes with a solid stick deodorant, cream tube deodorant, 2 free products of your choice, and free shipping. Now, luckily, I've got a discount code to help you guys get hooked up on my favorite smelling whole body deodorant on the market. New customers get $5 off their starter pack when they use code CHAT at shopmando.com. That's shop, MANDO.com with promo code CHAT. All that information is in the comments and description of today's video. Getting back to Sam Darnold, you look at the season he had, 4,300 yards, 35 touchdowns, 12 interceptions. It was an all-time steal of a contract, 1 year, $10 million for the Vikings. And I think, like KOC, it is important to look at the whole body of work. If I tell you guys right now, hey, Sam Darnold can come to Cleveland, help them reach 14 wins, but he might not play well in the playoff game, you are all signing up for that. Come on. After a 3-win season, that is not a bad consolation prize if you were to land Darnold in free agency. But I think the Vikings might have greater aspirations. They've got J.J. McCarthy, their first-round pick, coming off an injury. He should be healthy and ready to roll for the start of 2025. And they might look at the last 2 games against the Lions on Sunday night and the Rams in the wild card round and feel like, okay, as a team, we can do better. And we don't want the quarterback or really any one position, any one player holding this team back. And Darnold definitely held them back in their last 2 games. So in a weird way, I can see it making sense for Minnesota, but I can also see it making sense for the Browns going, wow, this quarterback is going to win his 14 games, but he won't play well in the playoffs. Did you say playoffs? Where do I sign? Like, that would be a big success for Cleveland. So I'm on board with Darnold on a cheap-ish level. I don't think the Browns should go out and, before he even plays a game for Cleveland, sign a kind of Baker Geno contract, 3-year, $90 to $100-ish million deal, because it's important to see, well, does Darnold work with this coaching staff, with this team, with this locker room, before you give him a big deal? Kind of like Kirk Cousins and the Falcons, which it didn't work out. And I don't think that was related to the personnel. It's probably more of his age and the injury, but I still don't think it's wise for the Browns to once again give a huge contract to a quarterback that did not play a game for them before he signed that deal. Does that sound familiar to anyone? So here's my offer for Sam Darnold if I'm the Browns. 2-year, $40 million contract. That's an average of $20 million. It's doubling his salary from last offseason. Guaranteed $30 million. So if things were not to go well after year 1, it's basically a 1-year, $30 million contract. I think this might be a good opportunity for both sides. If I'm Darnold and the Vikings want to proceed with J.J. McCarthy, there's a lot to like in Cleveland as a quarterback. You're working with Jerry Jeudy. I'm guessing they're going to invest in the running back position in the draft, so hopefully a good, strong run game behind you. And more importantly, you just kind of look around the area. Let's take a look at the other quarterback destinations. The Raiders, the Giants. I mean, I know the Browns aren't leaps and bounds ahead of those 2 teams. Both those teams beat the Browns. But from a situation standpoint, I think you might prefer going to Cleveland, which I think has a little bit more stability at the top than with the Raiders, who constantly go through coaches, GMs, and quarterbacks, or the Giants, who are kind of in the midst or closing in on changing their changing their head coach and GM. So would you offer this contract? Give me a yes or give me a no in the comment section below. If you were Andrew Berry and Darnold's agent called and said, hey, Sam wants to be a Brownie. What do you think about 2 years for $40 million? I'm in. I'm in at this point. I think it would kind of be I wouldn't say a best case scenario, but it would be a little bit of a lifeline for an offseason that doesn't have a lot of great quarterback options. Moving on to our third quarterback kind of chatter out there. It is Kirk Cousins from the Falcons. We have talked about him before on the show, and I have said that I think it would be a good move for the Browns to bring Kirk Cousins in as long as there are some kind of parameters to it. But the reason why we're talking about this one specifically today is I had 2 people send me this tweet, and I just kind of want to address NFL rooms as a whole. NFL rooms, ML football, NFL notifications. There's a couple accounts like these on Twitter. They just toss out these tweets and they are basically meaningless, right? NFL rumors: Browns are expected to aggressively pursue Falcons' Kirk Cousins. This is coming from no one. This is coming from space. So don't look at this and think like, wow, this has some serious legs to it. You know what I mean? It's okay to kind of connect the dots yourself and go like, Browns need a quarterback. Kirk Cousins likely done in Atlanta. Like, that's not a crime. But don't look at this and think like, okay, it's almost a done deal at this point. If the Browns do add Kirk Cousins, my stipulation is he can't be the only addition. I'm willing to sign Kirk Cousins to the vet minimum, assuming the Falcons release him, which I think they will, and have Kirk Cousins compete with someone else for the starting quarterback gig, and you'll find out if he can get back to his pre-injury form when he had a really strong start to the 2023 season from a numbers perspective, and then good 2021-2022 seasons. I'm willing to bet $1.75 million on that. It may not work out, but that's a bet I'm willing to make. But it has to be under the condition of there is another quarterback in training camp who is competing for the starting job. If you bring Kirk and only Kirk in, and it's Kirk, DTR, and some fifth-round draft pick, I don't think the Browns have positioned themselves in a nice spot. Because if things don't go well with Kirk, and he looks like the guy who we last saw in Atlanta that threw no touchdowns and 8 interceptions during a 4-game losing streak, you're in a bad position. But if he is able to look like the guy that, has a lot of success with Minnesota and Stefanski when they overlapped as a quarterback and OC, and it's $1.75 million, you look like the greatest GM in football. But you got to have an emergency exit. You got to have an escape plan, right? You got to bring Cousins in and some other quarterback to go, hey, we're going to try and see if we can resurrect this relic that's Kirk Cousins. If not, we did not put all of our eggs in that basket. We've got another quarterback. And if you're asking, how can you afford this? Kirk Cousins is going to sign for the vet minimum, just like Russell Wilson did, because the Falcons are going to pick up the remaining bar tab of his $27 million base salary. So it's not expensive whatsoever. The Browns did it last offseason. They signed Tyler Huntley to the vet minimum. They signed Jameis Winston to be the backup. They signed 2 quarterbacks in the offseason. They can do it again this offseason. Okay, that's going to do it for us on today's episode. I hope you guys enjoyed it. Let's pick a card to wrap things up. Mr. Reed, which card do you want to go with?
We had Ace of Spades last time, right?
Yes, we did.
Let me go with all the way on the other side, 2 of Spades.
Ooh, I kind of like that idea. I'm going to go with 7 of clubs. 7 of hearts. No. Damn it. Gordon Hayward in the national championship game. All right. I'll see you guys later.